there. I'm your host, Leslie Randolph. I'm a self-confidence coach for teenage girls and the self-confidence coach you wish you had as a teen. Honestly, I'm the self-confidence coach I wish I had as a teen because I know I could have saved myself and my mother a whole lot of heartache if I'd only known then what I know now. I hope to save you some of that suffering by sharing the lessons I learned late in life right here on Why Didn't They Tell Us? Welcome to the show. Hey, happy people. Welcome back to Why Didn't They Tell Us? So excited to be back in a room with you and so excited for today's show. So you better believe that as a self-confidence coach, I eat, sleep, breathe self-confidence. I'm always looking for books, podcasts, Facebook feeds, and Instagram reels that expand my knowledge, my definition, and my toolkit for all things self-confidence. So I can bring them to the teens I have the privilege to coach and to you, which is why I am so excited about today's guest, because she is also a self-confidence coach with proven methods and frameworks to cultivate confidence. And she has such a powerful story. Honestly, she has so many stories that have influenced her work because she is someone who not only talks the talk, she walks the walk. I mean, literally walked the walk. She climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in her 40s. And she's a mom of 6. I mean, need I say more? She is in the trenches with us. I am so excited to talk to and learn from Simone Knego. Simone is an international speaker, the best-selling author of The Extraordinary Unordinary You, and the co-host of the globally ranked podcast, Her Unshakable Confidence, which she hosts with her daughter, which I just love. Her upcoming book, Real Confidence, a simple guide to go from unsure to unshakable, coming to you in February, so look out for it, shares practical tools to overcome self-doubt and build authentic confidence. And she's going to be sharing some of those with us today. Simone, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you. I'm eager to learn from you. I'm excited for our listeners. So we're just going to dive right in because the book, Real Confidence, it's your methodology and definition of self-confidence. Real is an acronym that you work from. Can you tell us a bit about this method?
Yes. So REAL stands for, I'll start there actually. REAL stands for respect yourself, embrace your failures, ask yourself what you want, and live without limits. It is a method that I created because I am someone who struggled with self-doubt for the majority of my life. There were a couple big turning points. One of them was Kilimanjaro. And really what I did was I kind of looked back and said, okay, how did I get to where I am today, where I don't let self-doubt rule? And that's how the Real method came about.
Yeah, you and I share that. I always say the only reason that I'm so skilled at self-confidence is because I'm so intimately acquainted with self-doubt. And I think that might be like a deep breath for some people, because being confident doesn't mean that doubt isn't there or fear or anxiety isn't present.
It's so true. I actually spoke last week at my youngest daughter's senior convocation, which means I got up in front of all the basically the entire upper school, the seniors' parents, the kindergartners and their parents, and had to give like 3 to 5 minutes of inspiration. And the last thing my daughter says to me is, please don't be cringe. Okay, thank you so much. So you know what? I was nervous, and I typically don't get nervous when I speak, but it was a big deal. So yes, absolutely. Being confident doesn't mean that you don't have doubts that come into your mind. Being confident isn't for somebody else. It's for you, right? It's a skill and we need to build it, and we build it from the inside out.
1000%. So Real gives us that framework for it. If you could give us almost like a Cliff's Notes of, the R, the E, the A, the L, what would that look like?
So the reason I started with respect yourself, not necessarily because I wanted the word real, it just kind of happened that way, but which was great.
Really?
But really, yes. So the idea of self-respect, because when I was a kid, and I have fantastic parents, my dad passed away in 2019, my mom's still alive, and they were great parents, but never once do I remember them telling me that the most important person I need to respect is myself. Respect your elders, respect your peers, respect your teachers, right? It was constantly, that was the conversation. And what I've learned over time is what I was missing was the self-respect piece. And again, we can say, like, how would you expect someone else to respect you if you don't respect yourself, right? You need to set boundaries. You need to be able to take time for yourself. There's so many different things that lead to self-respect, and it's so important that we start with ourselves. The second part, embrace your failures. I've failed at a lot of things. And in the past, they were things that I said, okay, well, I guess I won't do that again, right? Instead of what did I learn from it, it was really like a stop sign. And I learned that if you don't try, you'll never know, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so important that we try to move forward and keep on trying things. So what if you fail, right? I mean, what did you learn from it? Not like, oh my gosh, my feelings are hurt. So that's really how I focus on failures. And then ask yourself what you want, which I think is so important for women, for moms. I mean, when we talk about moms, we think about how we have given our whole lives for our children, for our families. And it's very hard to take a step back and say, well, wait, what do I want? Right? I mean, your kids are growing up, they're moving out, they're going to college. Oh my gosh, what do I do with myself now? And I think that really asking yourself those questions, go back to when you were a kid. What did you want to do? Right? That kid still exists, and live without limits. So we limit ourselves every day, right? We say that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not skinny enough. The list goes on and on. And every time we say things like that, we're limiting ourselves. So one of the things, and I'll jump into it here, is one of the things I think it's so important how we talk about ourselves and how we talk to ourselves. So if you start listening to specifically women, especially women, when they talk about themselves, usually they use the word just to justify what they're doing. So, oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm just volunteering at the school. I'm just. And I'm like, drop the just. Like, this is who you are. These are the things that you're doing. And it's so important to own it so that you're stepping into your power and not walking against it.
Absolutely. One of my favorite quotes that I have found through getting to know your work is, we don't need to change who we are. We need to change the way we see ourselves. And it's really that idea of like the story I tell about myself and how I talk to and think of myself. That will very much be that source of self-confidence. And the limits that we self-impose, because so many of them are the ones that we're putting on ourselves, not the world.
Yeah. And you might not even realize it. I didn't realize it for a long time. I had one moment where my daughter, who I now have the podcast with, she walked into the bathroom. I was getting ready for an event. I wasn't fitting into my clothes. I was so frustrated with myself. And I was, talking myself down. Like, I can't believe you gained weight again. Like, why are you such a loser? Why can't you control yourself? All those things. And she walked in and I was saying these things out loud. It wasn't just inside my head. And she said, Mom, you have to stop. First of all, you're beautiful. Second, you're giving me a complex. How do you expect me to love my body when you don't even like your own? And she was 15. And that was such an aha moment for me of like, wow, what I'm saying to myself and about myself isn't just affecting my confidence. It's affecting everyone around me. And it's crazy that I needed that moment from a 15-year-old who was going to be brutally honest to say, you have to stop. And of course I stopped and I realized, wow, how many times have I said stuff like this? How many times have I really affected my children by being so down on myself?
Totally. Oh, I have goosebumps from that moment. I mean, because I really feel it, because sometimes, it's one thing if I'm talking to myself like this. It's another thing if I'm talking to myself like this and my daughter is listening and my daughter's watching, because the way we talk to ourselves and think about ourselves and, look at the photo and then make the critical comment, we're teaching them how to talk to and think about themselves as well. And anyone who has a teenager, my daughter is still a very spirited tween. We know that they almost watch more than they listen. So we can say all the things, but if we're not, modeling it, it'll fall on deaf ears.
Absolutely. Modeling matters more than managing. So the idea that what we say, that whole idea of do as I say, not as I do. I mean, come on, right? I mean, I've had plenty of people say that to me and I was like, well, why? Right? I mean, question it. Why? Why? If you're telling me to do something, but you're not doing it yourself, then why would it matter to me? And that's why I think it's so important how we follow through on these things, especially for our kids. And I mean, it really goes out into the entire world. It's not just our kids, but I see it with my friends too. I'll have friends that, and now I'm very open and I say it straight. So we were at a friend's house, and she had this beautiful dress on, and one of our other friends said, "Oh, you look so pretty in that dress." She goes, "Oh, do you think so?" I don't know. I don't think. And I was like, okay, one thing that I've really learned over time is 2 words: thank you. Nobody has to give you a compliment. You don't need that outside validation. You have to look in the mirror for yourself and say, I look gorgeous in this dress. End of discussion. And so if someone gives me a compliment, great. If they don't, it doesn't matter. But if you want to give me a compliment, the response is thank you. It took me years to be able to say those 2 words, but I do it pretty good now.
Yeah, but it takes that moment, right? And I love what you said, and I echo it all the time. It's, self-confidence is a skill, and it's one that we develop, and it's one that we have to practice. And so it's that moment, like that purposeful pause of like, oh, my default brain might be to be like, oh, do you think so? But my deliberate brain is thank you, right? And then I already walked out the door with the compliment I needed because I gave it to myself.
Yeah. And I like that default versus deliberate. That's great.
Yeah, because that default is doubt, right? Like it's so knee jerk to doubt ourselves. Of course we do. We all doubt ourselves. It's shifting from that doubt to a deliberate state of mind, which is courage and confidence and compassion and that willingness to be real. Everything you've said, that it lives in that deliberate state for sure.
Yeah. And it's not like a light switch. You don't all of a sudden say, oh, I'm so confident today, right? I mean, it's work. It's just like anything else. When you go to the gym, right? You don't get buff in a day. I mean, I'm still not buff, but it doesn't happen overnight. You have to really work at things. You don't learn a foreign language in a day, right? It's like anything else. So I'm a big positive affirmation fan. And if you're using positive affirmations and you're then telling me they don't work because you used them for one day, well, that makes sense that they haven't worked yet, right? I mean, any habit takes a significant period of time to keep. For example, I had shoulder surgery. I'm a side sleeper. I have now had to sleep on my back for 8 weeks, right? And I don't know if I can switch to my side again because I'm so used to doing it this way. But I slept for 50 something years on my side, and the first couple of days, it was awful. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to sleep again. But it's things that we have to work on, right? I'm such a big proponent of, you have to do the work, right? You can set every goal that you want, but if you don't put in the work behind it, then it's just a hope. It's not going to be anything that you can achieve because you have to put in the work.
Absolutely. And I love the analogy or the comparison to like going to the gym, because there is no more stubborn muscle than mindset, right? And so much of our self-confidence starts right up here. And then if we're able to tune in here, that's when it will fuel some of those deliberate actions like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, starting a podcast, doing TEDx talks, all the things that really require you to come face to face with that doubt and that anxiety and insecurity and say, I believe in myself and I can do this. Yeah.
And I think just the idea of, I never thought this would be what I would do for my life, right? I started off as a CPA. I have a bachelor's and master's in accounting. Then I had kids. Then I ran a horse. I've done many things. I'm a big believer in that it's okay to change your mind. And I finally found what I was passionate about, which is storytelling and helping other women, right? And a lot of it is through stories, because I think it's so important that we share our stories, the good, the bad, the ugly, so that other women don't feel like they're alone in their struggles. And what's so interesting is when you start opening up, you realize that, the other women in the room just needed someone else to say their truth so that they could feel like they could say theirs as well. And I see that with my daughter that I do the podcast with as well. I mean, now she just says it, she puts it all out there. There's no holding back on it, but I think it's so important that we're able to just be open and honest about what we're going through. And that's a big part of building confidence, because when we stuff our emotions down, then it's really hard to move forward.
Yeah, they almost become like baggage that we have to carry with us
Mm,
all the time. And you ain't getting up Mount Kilimanjaro when you have all those feelings on your back.
yeah. And again, not something that I ever thought I would do, not a bucket list item. I was really struggling during that period of time. And when I was asked to do it, I said yes. And I've had so many people say, well, why did you say yes? I can't tell you exactly. I would say part of it was because I had been the yes girl for so long, right? Always filling everyone else's needs, saying, yes, I'll pick up your kid from school. Yes, I'll bring donuts for the school. Yes, to every single thing, that I really thought that if I started saying no, that people wouldn't like me anymore or people wouldn't invite me to things anymore. I don't do that anymore. But it, so that yes was life changing for me, because what I realized from that experience was that it didn't matter what anybody else said. It was really about my mindset, because this is something completely out of my comfort zone. I've never climbed anything before. And it was about putting one foot in front of the other to realize what I was capable of. And there were many times where I said, oh my gosh, is this too much? Like, you have that voice inside your head that says, you left 6 kids at home to come climb a mountain. You're not a climber. You're 42 years old. Like, what are you thinking? And then I have to say to myself, keep going, one foot in front of the other, right? Because change doesn't happen if you do the same thing all of the time. And I needed the change, and it completely changed my life. I'm not saying go climb a mountain, but there is something for everybody that will help you with that mindset change of, what, if I set in the goal and I put in the work, I can do it.
Yeah, that was a recent podcast episode about how we can't change without challenge. And
Mm,
there might be, you might have, and I love what you said, Simone, you might have that childhood dream. And right now that might be like way too out of my comfort zone. So where can we seek some of that deliberate discomfort? Like almost like beta test it so that we can prepare our nervous system. We can then learn how to pay attention to some of those default thoughts that create the doubt and be like, oh, I hear it and I know how to talk back to it. Oh,
hmm
I hear it and I know how to just feel it without obeying it. Right. So I so appreciate that. Um, that I don't know if I would get on Mount Kilimanjaro for my
Yeah.
own deliberate discomfort, but I love that you did.
Well, you know what? It was one of the questions that I asked a lot of women afterwards. Well, when we were talking about it, they would say, well, I could never do that. Well, would you want to? No, I would never want to do that. I said, okay, that's the language you should use, because as soon as you say you can't do something, your brain starts to believe it, right? The more you say you're not capable of something, the more you believe that. So if you don't want to do it, great. I don't want to do that ever in my life, right? That's totally fine. But don't limit yourself. Don't say that you couldn't do it, which I've heard so many women say that. I'm like, no, you just don't want to do that, which is something completely different.
And that's great because that's part of respecting you, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
part of being real. That's part of real self-confidence. A very funny side note is that I lived in South Africa for 4.5 years. And so I really did actually want to, until the reality of what it meant to climb a mountain. That was when I was like, I know that might not be for me. Like I'll do Table Mountain.
Yeah, there are things that, I mean, I prepared for, but you don't really know until you get there. I mean, obviously the altitude change, the ability to have that chemical change in your body where you can breathe at altitude, right? You can prepare yourself as much as you want. I used to wear this altitude training mask that basically it had a gorilla face on it, and I would wear it to the gym. I would wear it when I was walking the bridge. My kids were mortified, right? If it would
Cringe,
have
mom,
happened,
cringe.
oh my God, so cringe. But yeah, I would have my mask on, my boots, and my backpack. Like, we have one hill where we are, right? And it's a bridge. And so I would climb it, I would hike it back and forth and back and forth. And the kids are like, we're not going anywhere near that when you do that. um, but things like, yes, you have to go through that. I was sharing a tent with someone I didn't know. I didn't meet her until I got there. I didn't even know I was going to have a tent mate. I was like, oh, okay, this is fun. She was great. So that was a cool experience. Going to the bathroom on a mountain, that's a bit much, right? I mean, I brought a pee funnel. I tell when I speak, I talk about it all the time because it's actually hilarious, right? Like Other women were both inquisitive and jealous of my pee funnel, and
Oh, totally.
I had one even asked if she could borrow it, and I was like, okay, no, that's gross. No,
That's
boundaries,
a boundary.
boundaries. I'll share my food with you. I'll share my tent, my sleeping bag, but not my pee funnel.
Too funny. So you touch on something that I think is really important here. And that is, well, two things. One, I just want to echo, like, yeah, this is why we do things in that like deliberate discomfort zone, because that's how we emotionally train for when we are in it, right? It's very different when we're in it. It's very different when you're walking up to give the speech at convocation versus, rehearsing it in your mirror, right? All those feelings and knowing how to navigate them. But so in my practice, Simone, I talk about what I call self-confidence kryptonite, the things that get in the way or chip away at our self-confidence. And you just talked a bit about people pleasing. What do you think we would put in that category for you of confidence kryptonite?
Asking for help. So that's one of the big things that I'm recovering from that. I've been very bad about thinking that I'm bothering people when I ask for something. And for example, with this new book coming out, I'm going to be reaching out to a ton of people, and I've been like preparing myself that this is going to be uncomfortable for me, but I have to do it, right? And even for a speech that I don't know if I got it yet, but I was putting my name in the hat for, and basically people needed to vote for it. And we were sitting at the pool, and my husband said, let's just start texting everybody that we know. And it was just such a great reminder. And we did. And I got a ton of people that said, I voted for you. I voted for you. And it was just such a great reminder that people want to help. So we create these ideas in our head that, oh, I'm bothering them. You're not bothering anybody. Like, people really do want to help. And if they don't, they just won't do it. Right. I mean, but it's just, you have to ask. And I say it to my kids all the time, but it's that follow through. I'll always say the worst that someone can say is no. But if you don't ask, you'll never know. So I would say that's a big one is thinking that I'm bothering people. And so I won't do outreach because of that. And like I said, I'm recovering from that. Also thinking that when I look at people who seem really confident, that could never be me. And the truth behind that is most of the people who appear super confident still struggle, right? So they might not have real confidence. They might just be putting something on for show, and then they're cowering back in the corner afterwards, or they have real things that they struggle with because they haven't gone through a process to kind of build that confidence. And a lot of times the person that's the loudest person in the room, they're not necessarily the most confident. So I think those are a couple of the things that I remind myself on a regular basis.
Yeah. And it's so interesting again, I've had the privilege of like getting to fangirl over Simone so I'm going to share this is that, someone who doesn't want to ask for help. Simone, you talk a lot about how your work and your life is guarded by tikkun olam, and how, this, which is Hebrew and translated to repair the world. And that has been a guiding principle for you in your life. You are someone you're helping everyone. And I'm sure you've never felt bothered, and always with that mission of like,
Never.
to make the world better.
Yeah. And that's why it's the mindset shift of you're not bothering people. People want to help you, right? So ask for the help, and asking for help is human. It's not showing weakness. And that's the thing. It's almost like doing a good deed for someone by asking for them to help you, because people want to give that help to you. So it's really changing my mindset about it. But yeah, I mean, I really do think about that every day in my life. How can I make something better instead of like, how can I just live my life? And with 6 kids, there's days that are just complete chaos, most days I would say, but it's still such an important thing for me to think that and think about, because that's what I want my kids to see too, right? I don't want them pushing people around. I want them seeing how they can collaborate with people. And I think it's rubbed off pretty well. So that's one thing that makes me very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if we all have people, that are asking themselves, how can I help? How can I be the change? And asking people for help to be part of that change or to support me. Because if you don't support me, I can't be that change. I can't make the world a better place, right? We're all in it together. It's just, I think about that often with my work of like, what a wonderful world it would be. And what a wonderful world it would be for our children if we were all living with this as a guiding principle.
Yeah, 100%.
It's so good. So Simone, I know you work predominantly with high achieving women, and I know that you are talking on stages and your book is available, but so many of them are moms. You are a mom,
Yeah.
a mom of many, who not only look to build their own self-confidence, but really more so to raise self-confident kids. What advice would you give those moms and the moms that are listening today to create their own confidence?
I think the starting point is really looking at your whole life. Like what are you doing? What do you want your kids to take away from it, right? And with my daughter, for example, I have 3 daughters, and obviously one told me not to be cringe. The other one texts me every 15 minutes from Cardiff, Wales. And the other one is the one I have the podcast with. The boys are a little bit different, but I want them to grow up to feel like they can do anything they want in the world. And that's what I want other women to feel as well, that you can step forward in whatever you want to do because you are capable, right? You're here for a reason. Everybody is unique. And, we have to stop the comparison game because you're never going to be somebody else. And to want their life is keeping you from moving forward in your own life. And that's something I also had to learn. I have a little mindset trick that I like to use that is called Control Alt Delete. Very creative, right? But back in the day, it was how you would reset your computers. It does something a little bit different now. It pulls up some weird screen. I'm an Apple person, so I don't know exactly. But
oh my god, and I must be like a very old school PC person because Control Alt Delete. I was like, yeah, this totally makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, and so it really is about resetting your mind because, like what we talked about before, you're going to have doubts that come in your mind, right? It's human. That's what we do. We doubt ourselves every day. I mean, research, there's multiple studies, but the one that I like to quote is there's researchers in Canada found that we have 6,200 thoughts every day. 85% are repetitive, 95% are negative. Like, it's crazy how many negative thoughts that we have going through our minds every day. So we have to figure out how we can break the cycle. And that's where Control Alt Delete comes in. So I'm not saying that you can control the thoughts that come into your head, but once they come into your head, you can control what you do with them. So you can ask yourself, is this real? Am I making this up? Am I just trying to make myself feel bad? Like, for example, standing in front of the mirror and saying, oh, I can't believe you gained weight again. I can't believe you don't fit in your clothes. You're worthless. And we don't need to go there, right? So you have control. Then alt is about an alternative. Instead of saying you can't do something, how about I can do it? Or what if I fail? When I succeed. And again, there are so many studies out there that will show you, like true scientific studies, that the way we talk to ourselves really changes how we feel about ourselves. You build different neural pathways in your brain. I mean, it's fascinating science. So it's not just me saying woo-woo things that, oh, go talk to yourself in the mirror because that's cool. But it's actual, it's real. It really works. And I can tell you from my life, it's really worked. And then the last part is delete. Delete the things that don't serve you. Delete the comparison game. Delete the belief that you're not enough, right? So in the moment, when you're having a thought come in and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? Control Alt Delete. Like, understand that it's probably not real, right? That you're trying to make yourself feel bad. Change it. So if you're saying like, oh my gosh, I'll never be picked for president of this. Yes, I will. I have the skills. I've worked hard for this. I deserve it. And then delete. Doesn't matter what anybody else is saying, right? It's really focusing on what you want and how you can move forward.
Yeah, totally. And then, okay. All right. So I mean, I love Control Alt Delete. I think, because my mind always goes to the teen, right? And what the teen brain, I wish your daughter was here with us too, right? Like, closer to it than us. Because what I will say is, and I'm going to call it the default thought, right? And with my younger clients, I call the bully brain. They feel so much more believable. Like, it just feels so much more believable. And I often think that's because the emotion it elicits is so much, it's like palpable, right? Like, you really feel doubt in your body. You really feel anxiety in your body. Confidence is almost like calm, right? Confidence is almost steady. So it's
quiet.
Can say it's quiet.
Yeah.
Always. And so, like this stepping stone, right? Like maybe I can't fully believe that I can be class president. I believe I can try. I believe I don't know what's going to happen, right? Of even finding some of that neutral ground. So that if I can't fully believe the positive affirmation that Simone and I are going to be saying in our mirrors tomorrow morning, like what is something just a little more compassionate, a little bit more confident that I could believe, or even neutral.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that idea of, I mean, the class president is a great example. So yeah, I can absolutely try. And you know what? If I don't get it, all it means is that I wasn't the right person for the job right now. It doesn't mean that I should never try again, right? It just wasn't it right now. And we get so hard on ourselves to say, well, now I'm a loser, right? Literally, I'm a loser. Well, no. I mean, it's like anything else. If you failed at something, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means that it wasn't the right thing in the moment. And so it is showing that self-compassion of, okay, what did I learn from this, right? And the other person that got it, was it just because, they had all kinds of people voting for them that they gave them like candy? Who knows? I mean, that's a bad example, but you just don't know how things work. And to be so hard on ourselves to say, well, because I didn't get this, then therefore I should never try anything ever again. It doesn't serve you, right? And I think we have to think about the way things serve us and how we can serve other people.
Yeah, I love that. And it kind of goes back to that beautiful quote of yours of changing the way we see ourselves. It's not just the way we see ourselves, it's also the way we see the circumstances of what happens to us in our life. Because we don't only get to decide how we view ourselves, we also get to decide the meaning we assign to all of that. And I think that's exactly what you mean. Like, even when you first were talking about failure, I had this vision of like, I'm very visual about the mountain right now, Simone, but I had this idea of like, oh, I went down the wrong path. I just need to maybe I'm going to try this path, right? Rather than I'm just going to sit at this dead end and stay on this summit forever.
Yeah. I have a couple responses to that. So in 2019, my dad passed away, and it was a really hard time for me. Of course, it was a really hard time for me. But one of the things we had planned while probably 2 years before was to hike the Inca Trail, which takes you to Machu Picchu, right? It's a 3-day hike. And the time leading up to that, I was literally staying at my parents' house, sleeping in their bedroom so I could help my dad and my mom in the middle of the night. And I was completely out of shape. I was like, oh my, and then after my dad passed away, one of the things he said was, you have to still do it. You can't stop your life because I'm not here. You have to still do it. And I got a lot of judgment for that from a lot of people. Like, really, your dad just passed away and you're going to go climb something? Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, again, everybody grieves differently. Again, that's why we shouldn't ever judge anybody about anything. But when we first started hiking, it was very hot. And, we're in Peru. I don't remember, 85, 90 degrees, your full sun exposure. And we probably were like 2 miles in, and a woman and her daughter were already turning around. And we're probably more than 2 miles in. We were probably like 6 miles in. And I'm like, but you understand, you're turning around, you have to go 6 miles back. Like, and camp is in like another 2 or 3 miles for the night. She's like, we just can't do it. We can't do it. We can't do it. And they gave up right then and there. Now, did I want to continue? No, but I was sure not going to walk back the 6 miles. I wasn't going to go backwards. So that was a reminder for me that you just have to keep moving forward, even when it's hard, right? And there's going to be so many hard things, especially as teens. Like, I watch my daughter when she's like, don't be cringe. Like, I get it. It's in front of all of her peers. And that's why I was so nervous about it. But we have to keep moving forward. And I have one more example after you can respond to that.
No, you just keep on going.
Okay. So my daughter, that's 22, that I have the podcast with, she was diagnosed with Crohn's when she was 16 years old. And it was a really hard time, right? It was right after my dad had passed away. And she was like, oh my gosh, this is the end, right? she's a foodie. She's like, I'm never going to be able to travel. I'm never going to be able to have kids. I'm never going to eat the foods that I want to eat. Like she was going through all these scenarios in her mind. And I said, okay, here's the deal. Um, you need to feel all the feels, like have all the emotions, be angry, be sad, scream it out, whatever you need to do. But then you need to pick a day and say, I'm moving forward, because otherwise you're going to be stuck and live in this the rest of your life, right? You have to figure out, how can I do all the things I want to do, even with this diagnosis, instead of, and don't let it define you. But I think that that mindset for her has helped her along the way with other things as well, right? When something bad happens, like feel the feels and then decide, pick a date and say, on this date, I'm moving forward. Because if you don't, then you're stuck exactly where you are, and nobody wants to be stuck. And so I think that is a great mindset hack too, when you're struggling with something. Okay, you didn't get what you thought you were going to get, right? You didn't get selected at this. Okay, well, feel the feels for it, cry about it, scream about it, whatever you need, and say, okay, on this day, I'm moving forward, and let me think what I want to do next, instead of let me focus on how I failed at that.
I love that. I love that. And it's like, given the permission to all the feelings, because they're all valid, right? And
Right.
If you are a human with breath in your body, you are going to feel disappointed, rejected, all those feelings. Feel them. But don't turn around on the path or sit down on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, you get to Summit for camping overnight.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love this. So we're gonna close out the show with like a rapid fire. If we were gonna give our listeners a to-do list of, you know, if we want to instill confidence in ourselves and the next generation, here are my 1, 2, 3, like, this you have to do, make it part of your morning routine, make it part of your life moving forward. And so tomorrow when they are out in their world, they're like, okay, I'm going to go through Simone's confidence protocol.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So first of all, whether you like it or not, positive affirmations. Tell yourself what you're capable of, right? When you see it with professional athletes. I mean, Simone Biles, for example, you know, before she goes and does a big routine, she'll tell herself, you've got this. And she always says it in third person. And you see that with a lot of, so it's kind of like an outside person saying to you that you can do this. So tell yourself what you're capable of. And then secondly is be very aware of the words that you're using, right? Drop the just. Make sure that when you're talking about yourself, you're talking about yourself or to yourself like you would your best friend. Don't, would you say this to your best friend? No, then do not say it to yourself, right? We need to be a lot kinder to ourselves. And the last thing is, I really love gratitudes. So like I do an evening gratitude where I can have the worst day, but there's always something that I'm thankful for, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Like maybe yesterday it was because I got new nail polish on and I really liked it. But you know, that in itself, like that makes me a little happy. So really reminding ourselves that we have good things going on in our lives, even when something seems huge and it seems miserable, there's a lot of good things happening. And to remind ourselves not to let that one thing overtake everything else. It's like when I used to take the kids on vacation, and the last thing that happened was that they didn't have their flavor of ice cream at the ice cream store, and therefore the whole trip was ruined, right? We had an amazing trip. Oh my gosh, it was the worst trip ever. They didn't have my ice cream. Okay, no, like we need to erase that. Think about all of the other good things. So those would be my top 3 things. And you just have to try things that work for you, right? I'm not going to tell you say exactly this thing every day, because everybody's in a different situation, but it is the way you talk to yourself, right? I mean, just think about that. And I think it's Brene Brown who said, talk to yourself like you would your best friend, because I guarantee the things that I was saying to myself, that story I talked about in the mirror, I would never say that to my best friend. Never.
As I said, the default deliberate when I'm talking to my teens, I call it the bully brain,
Mm-hmm.
the bestie brain. And so I couldn't love that more. And everything that you shared today, Simone, this was just, it's so good to like be in a space with you, to hear your stories. So thank you for sharing them.
Thank you.
And your wisdom of all things self-confidence. I will be continuing with my affirmations, my gratitude, and very aware of the language I use, because these reminders We all need them. I know that your book, Real Confidence, A Simple Guide to Go from Unsure to Unshakable, will be coming in February. So please, can you just let us know where we can find you? So if we don't want to wait till February, we can still have you in our world.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is SimoneKnego.com, SimoneKnego. I say this all the time, but I just kind of find it to be funny that I'm actually the only Simone Knego in the world as of today. So I'm waiting for someone to name their child after me. So if you look for me, you will find me. And yeah, the book comes out in February, and pre-orders start pretty soon, and then there'll be like free giveaways for the pre-orders. So you'll be able to find that on my website as well.
Wonderful. Well, I'll be looking for it, and I look forward to sharing this episode. So, Simone, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here.
My friends, why didn't they tell us that real self-confidence is available to all of us? That when we are speaking kindly to ourselves, thinking highly of ourselves, practicing gratitude, and just becoming more aware of who has the microphone in our mind, we can create that real self-confidence and let go of all the limits that stand in our way. My friends, till next time. Love what you hear? Well, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me at confidencecoachforgirls.com. That's confidencecoachforgirls.com. Or email me at lesliethelifecoach@gmail.com. That's lesliethelifecoach@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you.